Welcome everyone to another episode of Coffee and Whiteboard Markers. With these episodes we attempt to solve problems that are happening in teaching, just to give the teachers out there a chance to sort of tune in and cut down some time management, hopefully support you in the effort. Joined by my co-host Jody Eppier.
How are you?
I'm Miles O'Kane and look forward to taking you all along for the ride.
Nice.
So today's episode we're continuing on our behaviour management series and we're going to look at how to build rapport with students in the classroom. So we'll go through one by one, read off a few of the key techniques or the key skills that we think important for building rapport inside the classroom. So the first one, students need to respect you first. I think, look, we reiterate it a fair bit on the podcast. I think the going there firm but fair, you need to make sure that students respect you first. I mean, that's not saying that you just go in there and start talking to students that are respecting you, but you've got to make sure that you've set boundaries. So you're firm in what you're saying, but then you're consistently fair as well.
I agree. It's a lot easier to come in, be a lot more firm, and then once that's been established and the students understand where that line is, it's easier to shift the line accordingly. Whereas if the floodgates, as we've mentioned before, if the floodgates are too far open, it's pretty hard to close. So, it's one of those ones where being firm is a great thing. Being fair, it creates that whole safety mechanism for the students as well. They know what they can and cannot do. And what the teacher will accept and won't accept.
And I think, you're right. The students appreciate having boundaries as well. And I think even the ones who want to be the most rebellious, they want to know where the line is, so they can step over it. Learning students by their name. And I've been guilty of this before, having so many students throughout the day. You feel like you're constantly catching up with students, but just by learning, be able to know every student's name in the class and personalise the learning experience instead of saying, hey, you, or listen, or whatever. Johnny's still listening, they know you're directing it towards them and they know that you've put enough effort in to learn their name.
I totally agree. The quicker you get to know the kid's name, the better it is for you and for the student as well, because it just shows that you're actually making an effort to get to know who the kid is. I think one of the key techniques that I've done with that one in particular is when I allocate a certain, let's say we're marking some work, and I'll say, right, so and so you've got the first 10 questions, and then that way at least you're saying to them, they know them by their name, and then when they get the answers all correct, you say, well done, so and so, and it just reaffirms a lot of good behaviours. Now a technique there can be as well, if you've got a new class, especially a lower school class where there's 25, 30 students, you're not going to remember all students' name at once. And like we said before, generally it's the students that are acting up or playing up or disrupting, you're going to learn first. But a way to counter that is just for the first week or two, just choose 2 or 3 names on the list that you're going to use. Now when I say that, just refer to that student, use that name, don't go crazy with it, but hey John, just listen, hey John, how you going over there? And that way you're connecting in your brain that pathway between this is the student, this is the name, and hopefully it starts to sink in, because the quicker you learn the student's name, the quicker you personalise the learning experience, and the quicker it sort of has that positive atmosphere. Next key factor in building rapport in the classroom, meeting students at the door. Yes, I totally agree with that one. It sets such a good platform in the sense that you give them an expectation, you give them a direction, and at the same time they're not coming in drips and drabs. One of the worst things that I've noticed is that when students come in at their own accord, it's just too messy, too disruptive, where by meeting them at the door, it allows you to set the tone. It allows you to give them an expectation of what you expect for, and by the time you get back in, I usually give them a minute. But touching on what I said, I also have that very similar expectation written on the board, what they need. And then that way, if they did miss for whatever reason, they weren't attentively listening, they can see it as they walk by, collect their stuff, and good to go.
I think you're right. It has 2 faults, doesn't it? Like I find meeting students at the door, just by saying hello, how are you, it sets up walking into a bit of positivity. But then as students these days, they're generally not going to be all together walking to class. They come from different regions. So instead of having the drips and drabs doing different things at different times, the initial students, you can get them in and get them working, or at least give the instructions. So when students come in later, they can see what's going on, and it sets up the learning environment. So there's some routine, some structure, and the students know what to expect. And then plus you're meeting them at the door, hello, how are you? Start positive, don't get on students straight away. But then it sets up like you care about them as well. Now, if you need to pass on just reminders, just 2 quick ones, just remind you, be to class on time, nothing crazy, but just a lot of low-key stuff can be handled at the door, and then that means you're not dealing with it later in the lesson.
Absolutely. Awesome point, bro. Awesome. That's an actual awesome. Like, I think for any teachers out there, I think that's a key. That's something that'll help your teaching become a lot more efficient, and it's like that you don't allow any spot fires to even rise up by simply meeting them at the door.
Yeah, and I think you're probably similar as well. I think if you can plan to eliminate most stuff early, you're not dealing with it when it gets momentum down the track. So you can deal with it when it's smaller instead of trying to deal with it when it's out of control.
Yeah.
Politeness. What's your thoughts on politeness and rapport?
Being polite goes a long way, just in general. We say it all the time. I say it to students, you can be the most academic, but are you polite? It's one of those things that it'll carry you through life no matter what, irrespective of your background, irrespective of where you're from in the world. If you're generally a polite person, people will generally want to get to know you, want to have a conversation with you, and it opens up many more opportunities later on down the track. So being polite to the kids, also demonstrating of what politeness is. Sometimes even being firm and then finishing them off with something that they've done really well. It could be something very small. To allow the student to save face and to just like, I got reprimanded, but I still got praise for the
and that's a key there. Sorry, Karen, that's a key there with behaviour management and those difficult kids. A lot of it is about saving face. So if you can, what you want to do is to get the student back on track, but then have the student keep face as well. So there's got to be compromise there. And I mean, a thing I think you do very well, and I like, is addressing students as young sir or young man, because it gives them a level of maturity and a level of identity as well. Okay, I've been given this respect now, it's up to me to keep it and to maintain it. Verbal praise is probably the biggest one for me with rapport. I just think now verbal praise, and what I mean is direct verbal praise, so catching students doing the right things, especially those students who are disengaged. Now, if you're just going, oh, well done, Johnny, in front of the class, they might feel like their reputation as the bad boy or the bad girl starts to get, questioned. But if you can catch them walking around going, yeah, good work, just a quick one, it knows that, oh, wait, I can do this, cuts down on that disengaged behaviour, and it builds them up as well. But I think it has to be direct. It can't just be a blanket, congratulations, blah, blah, because it's just like, anyone can get this. It has to be directed at their work or what they're doing, or directed at behaviour. Well done for, whatever, well done for choosing the right word when they're about to swear or something. Having the right timing, having the direct praise, and then doing more praise than negative. So if I do a consequence for a student, I do my best to then win them back over again. Now, if the student's consistently doing the wrong thing, I continue down that path. But the quicker you win over students through rapport building, the less problems you're going to have.
It's that genuine praise as well. It's that stuff where you're like, today I gave my students, year 7 students, their results back, and just said to the whole class, round of applause for so and so for getting such and such a mark, and just the enjoyment that the kids had sharing towards one another. So verbal praise goes a long way. It can easily build up our students so well, even if the student is the most reluctant to do anything. But if you constantly work at it and all of a sudden it becomes normal, then the class is so used to lifting each other up instead of running each other down. So verbal praise is a good thing.
Look at one more. Use of humour. I think use of humour is massive. Now, I mean, it needs to be appropriate and stuff. But I think, especially, be able to laugh at yourself as well. I think I make mistakes all the time. Be able to pick myself up on it. It means that when students make mistakes, they're not freaking out. It's not going overboard either. And even just like little things to notice, students appreciate it. And I think be able to laugh in general takes away from the intensity of an environment at times.
I find humour to be a really good vehicle to break ice, to break a lot of things with the kids, a lot of anxiety that kids carry. One of the ones that I do often is if I don't see a student for a while, and for whatever period of time, and then they all of a sudden come back and I said, hello, what's your name?
I do. G'day, stranger. How you going? That's 3 days in a row. No way. And obviously, you pick your battles with the students. The students have all got issues there. But if you know it's a student just not been at school for a while because it's getting out of bed's too comfortable. Good to see you in class. Good, stranger. How are you? I'm your math teacher. And you usually get a laugh at that as well. And they feel less stress coming into the class then.
And that's that banter that you can actually, you build the ones that you can do that sort of banter with. And it sets this is the human side of teachers. This is the stuff where you can actually get smart to one another sort of. and the kids take it on board. So you're not hurting their feelings. It's just one of those opportunities that arises. And
Exactly.
jump on it.
Exactly. So look, that's in concluding this today's episode. They're just sort of directions how we think the quickest way to build rapport in a classroom.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's different ways out there. Again, like always, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.